Sam Harris yawned and stretched in his small office at the United Earth Embassy on Centauri Prime. The clock on his wall showed it was almost time for lunch. His desk was covered with reports that needed his attention, but he couldn't focus. 3 cups of coffee hadn't helped. Being a mid-level diplomat wasn't the exciting job he had imagined when he left Earth 5 years ago. The message alert on his computer chimed softly. Sam glanced at it without much interest. Another emergency meeting called by the Galactic Coalition. The subject line mentioned Earth. Again. What did we do this time? Sam muttered to himself. He took another sip of his now-cold coffee and skimmed the message. The Coalition, a peaceful alliance of 47 alien species that had maintained harmony across 3 sectors of space for over 3,000 years, wanted to discuss concerning human activities in the Outer Rim. Sam rolled his eyes. Probably another misunderstanding about human behavior or customs. Last month, they had called an emergency session because humans were deliberately poisoning themselves for pleasure, which turned out to be a coalition scientist who had witnessed humans drinking alcohol at a party. The month before that, they were concerned about ritualistic combat training of human young, which was just children playing soccer. Sam filed the message under low priority and decided to get lunch first. The coalition had existed for thousands of years before humans even left their solar system. Whatever they were upset about now could wait another hour. Meanwhile, 4 light-years away from Centauri Prime, the exploration vessel Curiosity drifted silently through an uncharted nebula. The ship's running lights illuminated swirls of cosmic dust in beautiful patterns of purple and blue. On the ship's bridge, Captain Diane Moore watched as her science team worked. The Curiosity was a research vessel tasked with mapping unexplored regions and collecting data. It wasn't the most glamorous assignment in the Earth fleet, but Diane loved the peace and quiet of deep space. "Captain, you might want to see this," said Ben Kelly, the ship's lead scientist. He pointed to a reading on his screen. "We're picking up some unusual energy signatures from that small asteroid cluster ahead." Diane moved closer to look at the readings. "Any idea what's causing it?" "Not yet," Ben replied, adjusting his instruments. "But it doesn't match anything in our database. Permission to collect samples." Diane nodded. "Granted. Standard procedure. Collect, analyze, document." 4 hours later, the science team gathered in the ship's lab, staring at the strange material they had retrieved from the asteroid. It was crystalline in structure, with an odd purple glow that seemed to pulse in rhythm with the observer's heartbeats. "Initial tests show it has some kind of quantum properties," Ben explained, pointing to the material sealed in a containment field. "It seems to react to conscious observation in ways I've never seen before. This could be a completely new element." Diane studied the glowing crystals, run all the standard tests, file a complete report to Earth Science Division. She smiled at her excited crew. "And good job, everyone. This is why we're out here." "Should we notify the coalition?" asked Lisa Patel, the ship's communication officer. "Their outpost is only 2 systems away." Diane shrugged. "Just follow standard protocol. Send them the basic discovery report along with our regular updates. They probably won't care anyway." That evening, the crew of the Curiosity celebrated their discovery with synthesized beer and music in the ship's common area. They toasted to science, exploration, and another successful mission. No one gave a second thought to the political implications of their find. Unknown to them, their discovery would soon shatter the foundations of the Coalition's carefully maintained balance of power. The purple crystals, which Ben Kelly had casually labeled Sample XC137 in his report, were about to become the center of the first galactic crisis in 3 millennia. And humanity would barely notice. High Counselor Exictal slammed his appendage on the ancient table. The sound echoed through the Grand Coalition Council chamber. Representatives from 47 species fell silent. Many had never heard such a violent noise in this sacred room. "This is unacceptable," Exictal's voice translator boomed. His natural voice was too high-pitched for most species to hear. "The humans have discovered quantum crystalline." Murmurs spread across the chamber. Some representatives clicked in alarm. Others released sense signals of distress. Ambassador Feltrix rose from her hovering seat. Her 6 eyes blinked rapidly in sequence, a sign of extreme agitation among her kind. "The data is confirmed. They truly found it." A small robot-like being in the corner of the room projected a hologram. It showed the report filed by the human vessel Curiosity *. The report described the discovery in simple, scientific terms, completely missing its significance. "They call it Sample XC-137, said Ambassador Feltrix with disgust. "They have no idea what they've found." Quantum crystalline was not just another mineral. For 3,000 years, the Coalition had carefully hidden its existence from developing species. The substance could alter reality when properly used. In the wrong hands, it could destroy the delicate balance of power that maintained peace across the galaxy. "Humans are too unpredictable," shrieked another representative. "Too emotional. Too violent. With quantum crystalline, they could destabilize everything we've built." The council erupted into chaos. Some called for immediate military action, something not considered for millennia. Others suggested diplomatic solutions. A few brave souls proposed that humans might handle the discovery responsibly. After hours of debate, they voted. The result was nearly unanimous. Earth must surrender all quantum crystalline research and submit to Coalition oversight, or face consequences. It would be the first threat of conflict issued by the Coalition in 3,000 years. "Send the message," Hexictal ordered. "Make it clear this is not a request." On Earth, President Abigail Carter sat in the Oval Office in Washington, D.C., listening to her morning briefing. Her assistant, Greg, was going through the day's schedule when the Coalition's message arrived. "Madam President," Greg interrupted himself, looking at his tablet. "We just received an urgent communication from the Galactic Coalition. They're demanding we surrender something called quantum crystalline and accept their oversight of our scientific research. They're threatening sanctions if we refuse." President Carter sipped her tea calmly. She had been in office for 3 years and had dealt with more pressing issues than alien demands. Earth had its own problems: climate adaptation, the Mars colony expansion, resource allocation. "What exactly is quantum crystalline?" she asked. "According to our science division, it's the crystalline substance discovered by the Curiosity last week. The research team is still studying it." President Carter nodded once. "Forward this message to the science division. Ask Dr. Frank Williams to look into it when he gets a chance." She returned to her tea. "What's next on the agenda?" "The Mars Terraforming Anniversary celebration next week. You're scheduled to give the opening speech. Let's focus on that. The Coalition can wait." The President turned her attention to more immediate concerns. Meanwhile, at the Earth Science Division headquarters in Geneva, Dr. Lisa Dawson received the first samples of what the crew of the Curiosity had discovered. She ran initial tests, her excitement growing with each result. "This is incredible," she told her team, watching the purple crystals pulse with energy. "The quantum properties are unlike anything we've seen before." Her colleague, Dr. Raj Patel, looked up from his computer. "Applications." Lisa's eyes sparkled. "Everything. Energy, medicine, computing. This could change how we understand reality itself." She had no idea that across the galaxy, 47 species were now in panic over this very substance. To her, it was simply another fascinating scientific discovery, one that she couldn't wait to explore. The clock was ticking. The Coalition expected an answer. Earth was about to face its first interstellar diplomatic crisis, and nobody seemed particularly worried about it. The Harbinger of Peace dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of Earth's solar system. It was the most impressive diplomatic vessel in the Coalition fleet. Nearly a mile long, Its hull gleamed with symbols representing 3,000 years of peaceful cooperation among the stars. Inside the grand meeting chamber, Ambassador Zarkul of the ancient Tellurian Empire adjusted his ceremonial robes. Around him, representatives from 11 other species prepared for the most important diplomatic mission in recent history. Remember, Zarkul addressed the delegation, we must impress upon the humans the gravity of this situation. They must surrender all quantum crystalline and accept coalition oversight. The representatives nodded solemnly. Most had never met a human before. Their knowledge came from reports and occasional broadcasts intercepted from Earth. Humans seemed primitive, emotional, and dangerously unpredictable. The asterisk harbinger of peace asterisk sent its arrival message to Earth authorities, expecting an immediate and respectful response. When none came for over an hour, they sent another. Finally, a video call connected. A young human male with sleepy eyes and tousled hair appeared on screen. United Earth Government, Deputy Assistant Secretary Joe Miller speaking, he yawned. Sorry for the delay. Different time zones and all that. Ambassador Zarkul stepped forward, his translator converting his musical language into English. I am Ambassador Zarkul of the Tellurian Empire, leading the coalition delegation on a matter of utmost galactic importance. We request immediate audience with your planetary leaders. Joe Miller checked something on a tablet. Well, it's a beautiful Earth afternoon, but everyone important is kind of busy right now. He smiled apologetically. The president is preparing for the Mars terraforming anniversary. The vice president is on vacation in New Zealand, and the Secretary of State is attending his grandson's baseball game. The delegation exchanged shocked glances. Were the humans not taking this seriously? This is a matter that threatens the peace of the entire galaxy, Zarkul said, struggling to maintain his composure. Got it, Joe replied, typing something. How about Tuesday? I can get you into the schedule for a preliminary meeting. In the meantime, I can offer you landing clearance. We have a nice conference room at the United Earth Government building in New Denver. I'll order coffee and sandwiches. Before Ambassador Zarkul could protest this inadequate reception, Joe added, Oh, and welcome to Earth. Do you need accommodation recommendations? The Hilton has a good alien-friendly section. 3 hours later, the 12 members of the coalition delegation sat awkwardly in a beige conference room. Human-sized chairs were uncomfortable for most of them. On the table were plates of small food items labeled sandwiches and cups of a bitter brown liquid called coffee. Joe Miller sat across from them, smiling pleasantly. So while we wait for Tuesday, maybe you could tell me what this is all about. Ambassador Zarkul drew himself up with dignity. Your species has discovered a substance we call quantum crystalline. It is incredibly dangerous in the wrong hands. The coalition has hidden its existence for 3 millennia to maintain peace. Quantum crystalline, Joe repeated, making a note. Is that the purple crystal stuff? From the Curiosity expedition. Yes, we demand all research be surrendered immediately. Joe tilted his head. Huh. Well, I'll pass that along. But just between us, he leaned forward conspiratorially. I think the science folks are already playing with it down in Antarctica. Dr. Lisa Dawson's team has been super excited about something this week. Ambassador Zarkul felt his inner membranes constrict in horror. They're already experimenting with it. Probably, Joe shrugged. Our scientists don't really wait for permission when they find cool stuff. That's kind of our thing. Meanwhile, in a research facility buried beneath the Antarctic ice, Dr. Lisa Dawson and her team watched as synthesized quantum crystalline responded to their tests. They had already replicated the crystal structure and were exploring applications. Look at this, Lisa said excitedly, pointing to a small device on the lab table. The crystal responds to mental patterns. I think we can use it to create a direct interface between thoughts and machines. Her colleague, Dr. Raj Patel, grinned. I was thinking more practically. Look what I made this morning. He pressed a button. A small machine hummed to life, producing a perfect cup of coffee in 30 seconds. Fastest, most energy-efficient coffee maker ever created, Raj said proudly. I'm calling it a quantum cup. Neither scientist had any idea that 12 alien representatives were sitting in a conference room in New Denver, terrified about exactly what they were doing. Tuesday arrived with clear blue skies over New Denver. The coalition delegation had spent 3 uncomfortable days in the Hilton's alien-friendly wing, waiting for their meeting with Earth's leadership. Ambassador Zarkal had used this time to prepare a powerful speech about the dangers of quantum crystalline and the importance of the 3,000-year peace. The United Earth Security Council chamber was smaller than the aliens expected. 7 humans sat at a curved table facing them. President Abigail Carter was not present, having sent her representatives instead. "Welcome to Earth," said General Alan Simmons, head of Earth Defense. His uniform displayed numerous colorful badges. "We understand you have concerns about our recent discovery." Ambassador Zarkal stepped forward, his translator box humming. "Esteemed leaders of Earth, I come before you on a matter of utmost importance." His voice rose with practiced diplomatic flair. For 3 millennia, the Galactic Coalition has maintained peace across 3 sectors of space. This unprecedented era of harmony has been carefully preserved through cooperation, understanding, and the controlled distribution of dangerous technologies. The humans listened politely. One woman at the end of the table appeared to be checking messages on her device. "Your species has discovered quantum crystalline," Zarkal continued. "This substance has reality-altering properties that could destabilize the delicate balance of power throughout the galaxy. In the wrong hands." General Simmons raised his hand, interrupting. "Sorry to cut in, but I'm a bit confused. Are you declaring war over a mineral?" The entire alien delegation gasped in shock. Ambassador Zarkal's translator sputtered as he struggled to find words. "Not war," he finally managed. "The coalition hasn't engaged in conflict for 3 millennia. But we must insist that humanity surrender all quantum crystalline research and accept coalition oversight of your scientific endeavors. Because," continued General Simmons, rubbing his chin thoughtfully, "if you're not declaring war, then this sounds like a trade negotiation, which would go through commerce, not defense." He nodded toward the woman at the end of the table, the one who had been checking messages. Secretary of Commerce Nicole Johnson looked up from her device. "Oh, we're already using that crystal stuff in about 6 different consumer products," she said casually. "My kid has shoes that light up with it. Very popular with the 10-year-old crowd." Ambassador Zarkal felt his 4 hearts beating rapidly in distress. "You've commercialized it already?" "Sure," Nicole shrugged. Dr. Dawson's team shared their early results last week. Energy companies are exploring power applications. Medical devices using crystal interfaces are in testing. And yes, there's a whole line of light-up fashion accessories hitting stores next month. The coalition representatives exchanged alarmed glances. This was worse than they had imagined. Not only were humans experimenting with quantum crystalline, but they were also turning it into children's shoes. "You don't understand the danger," said Representative Fieltrix, stepping forward. Her 6 eyes blinked in sequence. "This substance can alter the fabric of reality itself." "So we've noticed," said Dr. Howard Green, Earth's science director. "That's why it makes such efficient power sources. The reality warping properties create clean energy with minimal input. Quite revolutionary, actually." "We came here," Ambassador Zarkal said, struggling to maintain composure, "with an ultimatum from the coalition. Surrender all quantum crystalline research or face sanctions and possible military action." The room fell silent for a moment. Then General Simmons leaned forward. "Military action? From the coalition? The same coalition that hasn't had a war in 3,000 years. He looked genuinely curious rather than threatened. "We hoped it wouldn't come to that," Zarkal said, less confidently. Secretary of Defense Paul Martinez, who had been silent until now, cleared his throat. "Just to be clear, You're threatening humanity, a species that has fought thousands of wars among ourselves, with military action from species that haven't seen conflict since ancient Egypt was building pyramids on our planet. Ambassador Zarkal realized that his carefully prepared speech was having none of the intended effect. The humans weren't afraid. They weren't even particularly concerned. They were treating the first threat of galactic conflict in 3,000 years as if it were a minor trade dispute. Perhaps, Zarkal said carefully, we should discuss this further. After the failed meeting with Earth's Security Council, the coalition delegation decided to try a different approach. If they couldn't convince human leaders of the danger, perhaps they could better understand humanity first. Ambassador Zarkal ordered a cultural study mission. Cultural analyst Fredia, a small blue being with large, sensitive eyes, led the initiative. She and her team spent a week observing humans in their natural environments, cities, parks, workplaces, and homes. What they discovered horrified them even more than the quantum crystalline situation. Humans are unlike any species we've encountered, Vredia reported to the delegation in their hotel conference room. Her voice trembled as she displayed her findings on a holographic screen. They regularly engage in voluntary risk-taking behavior that defies survival instinct. The screen showed humans jumping from high places with elastic cords attached to their ankles. This is called bungee jumping, Vredia explained. They do it for fun and thrills. The delegation watched in silent horror. They also consume substances that temporarily poison their systems, she continued, showing images of humans drinking alcohol at a party. This practice is called weekend relaxation or happy hour. Ambassador Zarkal shook his head in disbelief. Any other concerning practices? Many, Vredia said grimly. They keep predatory animals in their homes as pets. They engage in recreational activities that risk bodily harm. And perhaps most disturbing of all, she paused for effect. They regularly consume media depicting fictional scenarios of their own extinction. She displayed posters from human disaster movies, apocalyptic novels, and zombie television shows. They imagine their own demise for entertainment, she concluded. And they are utterly unconcerned about potentially species-ending technologies. The delegation sat in stunned silence, trying to process this information. How could they negotiate with a species so fundamentally different from any coalition member? Meanwhile, in his office at the Earth Science Division, Dr. Frank Williams finally got around to examining the coalition's formal complaints about quantum crystalline. He had been too busy with his own research to pay much attention to the alien visitors. Interesting, he muttered, reading through the documents. They believe this stuff is far more dangerous than we've observed. He picked up his phone and made a call. Joe, Frank Williams here. Those aliens still in town. I think I should meet with their scientists. The next day, Dr. Williams invited the coalition scientific team to visit his lab in Colorado. 4 alien scientists, each from a different species, arrived wearing protective gear as if entering a hazardous area. Welcome to Project Quantum, Frank said cheerfully, leading them into a busy laboratory where dozens of humans worked with the purple crystals without any special protection. We're happy to share our research with you. The lead alien scientist, a tall insect-like being named Dr. Kiksat, seemed alarmed. You handle the crystals directly, without quantum stabilization fields. Frank looked confused. We haven't found that necessary. The material is stable in our testing environment. He showed them various experiments in progress. In one corner, technicians were testing a medical device that used quantum crystalline to accelerate healing. In another, engineers were developing more efficient energy systems. A young intern was even designing jewelry with small crystal fragments. We're testing applications across multiple fields, Frank explained. Energy, medicine, computing, consumer products. We're happy to share all our data with the coalition. We figured everyone already knew about this stuff. Dr. Kiksat exchanged worried glances with his colleagues. We have studied quantum crystalline for thousands of years. In our experience, it causes dangerous reality fluctuations. How are you controlling these effects? Frank shrugged. We haven't seen any major fluctuations, just the expected quantum behaviors that make it useful. He paused, thinking. Maybe it reacts differently to human neurology or something. Our brains work pretty differently from yours, from what I understand. The alien scientists huddled together, speaking rapidly in their own languages. This was unexpected. Could there be something about humans that changed how quantum crystalline behaved? Dr. Kicksat turned back to Frank. We would like to conduct joint research experiments, with your permission. This could be significant. Frank smiled. Sure thing. Science is better when we work together, right? Let me show you our testing protocols. As the human led them deeper into the lab, the alien scientists realized they might have completely misunderstood the situation. Perhaps humans weren't dangerous because they were using quantum crystalline. For 3 days, the alien scientists worked alongside Dr. Frank Williams and his team. They conducted experiments with quantum crystalline under controlled conditions. What they discovered changed everything. Dr. Kicksat hovered over a testing chamber, his compound eyes blinking rapidly as he observed a human lab technician handling a small purple crystal. The technician, Mia Johnson, was smiling as she worked, showing no signs of distress. Incredible, Dr. Kicksat whispered to his coalition colleagues. The reality fluctuations are present, but they seem to stabilize in her presence. The alien scientists had set up special equipment to measure quantum disturbances. When any coalition species handled quantum crystalline, the readings spiked dangerously. Reality itself became unstable, causing unpredictable effects. But when humans handled the same material, the readings remained low and steady. We need to scan her brain activity, said another alien scientist, a blue-skinned being named Zol. With Mia's permission, they attached sensors to her head while she worked with the crystal. The results were unmistakable. Human brain patterns have a dampening effect on quantum crystalline, Dr. Kicksat announced to the room. Something about their neural activity stabilizes the reality-altering properties. Frank Williams nodded thoughtfully. That explains why we haven't seen the dangerous effects you warned us about. Our brains are actually helping to control the material. It's more than that, Zol added, studying the data. The crystals actually sync with human thought patterns. They become more stable, more predictable, and more useful when handled by humans. Ambassador Zarkol arrived at the lab later that day to hear the scientists' findings. His usual diplomatic composure cracked as Dr. Kicksat explained what they had discovered. Are you certain? Zarkol asked, his voice rising in pitch. Humans are not just resistant to quantum crystalline's dangerous effects, but they actually improve its stability. The evidence is clear, Dr. Kicksat confirmed. We've run the tests multiple times. Human neurological patterns create a stabilizing field that makes quantum crystalline safer and more useful. Ambassador Zarkol paced the lab floor, his ceremonial robe swishing. This changed everything. The Coalition's fears about humans misusing quantum crystalline were unfounded, but a new, perhaps greater concern emerged. If humans can safely use the crystals, he said slowly, they have access to technology that the rest of the galaxy cannot safely control. This gives them an unprecedented advantage. Frank Williams, overhearing this, laughed. Is that what you're worried about? That we'll use it against you? He shook his head. Look, we've been using this stuff to make better coffee makers and light up sneakers. If we wanted to build weapons, we have plenty of other ways to do that. Ambassador Zarkol was not reassured. He quickly sent an encrypted message to the Coalition Council. Humans aren't dangerous because they're using quantum crystalline. They're dangerous because they're immune to its worst effects. Within hours, the Council voted to immediately classify humanity as a Class A containment risk, the highest threat level in their system. On the other side of the galaxy, Sam Harris was finally enjoying his lunch when his computer chimed with an urgent message. He glanced at it and sighed. The Coalition had just classified Earth as a Class A containment risk. That would mean paperwork. He took another bite of his sandwich and decided to finish his lunch first. The message had waited this long. It could wait another 10 minutes. Back on Earth, weekend news channels briefly mentioned some diplomatic thing with the coalition during a 30-second segment before returning to sports coverage and weather forecasts. Most humans had no idea their species had just been labeled the greatest potential threat to galactic peace in 3,000 years. In her lab in Antarctica, Dr. Lisa Dawson had bigger concerns. Her team had just discovered that quantum crystalline could be used to build faster-than-light communication devices. This would revolutionize human expansion throughout the stars. Send a message to the science division, she told her assistant. We've just solved the interstellar communication delay problem. The implications of this discovery would reach far beyond Earth. The galaxy was about to change forever, whether the coalition was ready or not. For the first time in 3,000 years, the Galactic Coalition faced an internal crisis. The Grand Council chamber on Centauri Prime buzzed with heated arguments as representatives from 47 species took sides in what was quickly becoming a historic divide. Humanity must be contained, shouted High Counselor Hexactol of the Vorpal hegemony. His appendages waved in agitation. Their immunity to quantum crystalline effects makes them too powerful. We must act now before they expand further. With what military? Countered Ambassador Glynn of the Meldorian Collective. The Coalition hasn't maintained true warships for over 2,000 years. Our security forces are designed for peacekeeping, not war with a species that regularly practices combat. The debates raged for days. Some coalition members advocated for immediate military action against Earth, a notion that hadn't been seriously considered for millennia. Others saw opportunity in human immunity to quantum crystalline effects and proposed alliance instead of confrontation. The Vorpal hegemony led the hardliners, gathering support from species that feared rapid change. Surprisingly, the ancient Tellurian Empire, led by Ambassador Zarkal, advocated for human partnership. I have met these humans, Zarkal told the council. Yes, they are strange and unpredictable, but they show no desire to dominate the galaxy. Their focus remains on exploration and commerce. We should work with them, not against them. As the coalition fractured into opposing factions, Sam Harris found himself suddenly important. As the sole human representative present during this historic coalition meltdown, diplomats from both sides sought his input. Sam, who had planned to request a transfer back to Earth next month, was overwhelmed by the attention. He sent an urgent message to Earth. Coalition in crisis over our quantum crystal stuff. Some talking war, others want alliance. Please advise. The message reached President Abigail Carter during a state dinner honoring the Mars terraforming project leaders. She discreetly checked her phone under the table, read Sam's message, and quickly typed a response. Be nice. Invite both sides to Earth for hot dogs and baseball. Yankees playing Saturday. Sam stared at the president's reply in disbelief. This was potentially the biggest diplomatic crisis in human history, and her solution was baseball. But he had his orders. At the next council session, Sam stood and addressed the divided coalition. On behalf of Earth, I extend an invitation to representatives of all coalition factions to visit our planet this weekend, he announced, trying to sound diplomatic. President Carter believes direct cultural exchange will help resolve our differences. The New York Yankees are playing on Saturday. There will be hot dogs. The coalition representatives looked confused. Sam clarified. It's a sporting event, and hot dogs are, well, they're better if you don't ask too many questions about what's in them. To Sam's surprise, both factions accepted the invitation. Perhaps curiosity about humans outweighed their fears, or maybe they just didn't want to be left out if the other side went. Meanwhile, Dr. Lisa Dawson was presenting her latest findings to Earth's Science Council. Her team had developed quantum crystalline communication devices that could transmit messages instantly across any distance. The implications are enormous, she explained to the gathered scientists. We can maintain real-time contact with ships and colonies anywhere in the galaxy. No more waiting years for messages from distant explorations. One of the council members raised a hand. What about the coalition's concerns? They seem pretty worked up about all this. Lisa shrugged. From what I understand, their problem is that they can't safely use the crystals like we can. That's not our fault. Besides, we're solving problems here. The communication technology alone will save countless lives by preventing isolation of distant colonies. Across the table, Dr. Frank Williams nodded in agreement. The coalition has been around for thousands of years. They'll adapt. In the meantime, we keep moving forward. Neither scientist knew that representatives from both coalition factions were already on their way to Earth, or that the fate of 3,000 years of galactic peace might depend on how much these aliens enjoyed baseball and hot dogs. Sam Harris, preparing to return to Earth ahead of the coalition representatives, wondered if the president had a better plan than she was letting on. Surely baseball couldn't resolve a galactic diplomatic crisis. Then again, in his experience, humans had a knack for making things work out in the strangest ways. Yankee Stadium buzzed with its usual weekend energy. 50,000 fans cheered, ate overpriced food, and drank beer under the warm summer sun. Among them sat 24 aliens from the Galactic Coalition, divided into two groups on either side of a smiling President Abigail Carter. The aliens tried to blend in, but their various shapes, colors, and extra limbs made this impossible. Some wore human clothes over their environmental suits. Others had special seats to accommodate their unusual bodies. All looked bewildered by the chaos around them. "Ball 4, shouted the umpire. The crowd roared. "What just happened?" Ambassador Zarkle asked Sam Harris, who sat beside him. "The pitcher threw 4 bad throws, so the batter gets to walk to first base," Sam explained for the 5th time. "And this determines galactic policy how?" asked High Counselor Zarkle from Carter's other side. The president smiled. "It doesn't, but you get to experience something we love. Understanding starts with shared experiences, don't you think?" Before the alien could respond, the crowd erupted as a Yankees player hit the ball deep into the outfield. President Carter jumped up, cheering with everyone else. The coalition representatives watched in fascination as 50,000 humans united in a moment of pure joy over a small object being hit with a stick. During the 7th inning stretch, as the crowd stood to sing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game," Dr. Lisa Dawson approached the alien delegations. She wasn't supposed to be part of this diplomatic event, but she had insisted on coming. "I figured out the issue with the crystal," she said casually, handing each alien a small badge. "Your species are sensitive to quantum fluctuations it produces. These are stabilizers. They create a field that makes quantum crystalline safe for your physiology." Ambassador Zarkle stared at the simple device in his hand. "You solved the problem that has terrified our civilization for thousands of years in 2 weeks." Lisa shrugged. "Well, we had to rush it. The whole threat of war thing seemed unnecessary." She took a bite of her hot dog. "Also, we're starting a community science project to find other applications. Your people are welcome to join." The aliens examined the badges with stunned silence. President Carter leaned over with a smile. "Dr. Dawson is one of our best scientists. Once we understood why you were concerned, finding a solution was just another problem to solve." She nodded toward the field. "Oh, look. They're doing the wave." The human crowd had indeed begun a wave, with sections of people standing and raising their arms in sequence around the stadium. Several aliens watched in quiet awe at this spontaneous coordination of thousands of individuals. "Your species is puzzling," said High Counselor Exektal finally. "You discover a material that terrifies advanced civilizations, use it to make shoes that light up, and then casually solve a problem we couldn't fix in 3,000 years, all while caring more about this baseball than potential galactic conflict." President Carter smiled. "We've learned that most problems look bigger from a distance. Up close, with the right attitude, they're just puzzles waiting to be solved." She offered him some popcorn. More importantly, are you enjoying the game? By the ninth inning, coalition representatives from both factions were wearing Yankees caps, eating hot dogs, and several were even trying to do the wave. The discussions about humanity's threat level had somehow transformed into talk of trade partnerships and scientific exchanges. As fireworks burst over the stadium celebrating the Yankees' home run, the coalition representatives realized that the 3,000 years of peace they had so carefully maintained had never actually been threatened. Humans hadn't cared enough about galactic politics to disrupt it. Sam Harris, finally getting his well-deserved vacation after the unexpected diplomatic crisis, sat on a beach on Earth and deleted all his work messages without reading them. He smiled as he watched children playing with toys that glowed with quantum crystalline. The galaxy would sort itself out. It always did. President Carter, enjoying the last of her hot dog in the luxury box with various alien dignitaries, raised her soda in a toast. To new friends and good neighbors, just don't take us too seriously. The aliens, finally beginning to understand humanity, raised their drinks in return. Sometimes, the most powerful force in the universe isn't technology, or politics, or even fear. Sometimes it's simply not caring too much about things that don't really matter.